Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, our fashionpreneurs and friends, I am excited to be coming to you on this Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Tonight, I have an incredible person with me, another incredible person with me. I have Cynthia Harvey-Brown. I'll tell you a little bit about her, and then I will bring her before you. Cynthia Harvey-Brown is a fashion and career consultant, sustainable fashion designer, and founder of Shift in Season. Cynthia Harvey-Brown is a designer, educator, health and wellness, and sustainable fashion advocate, and she is going to empower us tonight. Her mission is to inform and inspire women of all ages to live a more sustainable lifestyle. Shift in Season manufactures dresses in small batches on demand using high-quality natural fabrics sourced locally, incorporating couture techniques that prolong the garment's life. Based in Los Angeles, she says her company is unapologetic. Has an unapologetic universal flavor, making every piece made by hand worth the patience. Miss Harvey-Brown has designed for Janet Jackson, Nicole Kidman, Cicely Tyson, Jennifer Lopez, and George Clooney. So welcome, Cynthia. Thank
Hello, hello.
you.
I'm excited to be here.
Look, I'm excited to have you, but I gotta ask, Cicely Tyson. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, what was that like? Oh my
It
goodness.
was a really special experience. It was for the cover of Ebony magazine. And I was actually working with another designer on the project, and we had a rack of black dresses for her to try on. And she didn't want anybody in that room but me to help her try those dresses on for that cover. So that was a special experience for me.
I know that's something you will always treasure.
Hmm.
Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. Mm.
Absolutely.
Oh, and then my diva Janet Jackson, girl.
Yes, yes. She's been in the news a lot lately and has had a long and prosperous, as we know, career. And
Yeah.
I had a chance to work on the If video with her.
Mm.
So the vest that she wore with the elephant uh, tusk were actually something that I created. And she wore that, and it was, something, again, a special moment to be able to work with someone so down to earth and so humble.
That is awkward. Those are moments that lots of us wish we had. So now we get the opportunity to glean from you tonight on sustainable fashion. Well,
Yes.
I'm excited about the conversation. I'm excited about the pre-event conversations that we held because
Hmm.
I tell everybody, um I was the person who wanted to be in fashion. That's why I started this nonprofit, because my dream was denied. So I started it so the
Hmm.
dreams of others do not have to be denied, delayed, or derailed. So my
Amen.
focus is on using my organizational and planning skills to bring in the people such as yourself, the experts, the fashion professionals, to talk about these things that we need to know about and educate everyone. So
Hmm.
tonight we have the privilege of talking about sustainable fashion. We're going to talk about
Yay.
it from the standpoint of the environment, the economy, the consumer, and the designer. So this is
Yes.
going to be quite insightful. So tell me what led, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. And I'm going to pull up the presentation that Cynthia has for us. So we have some slides to reference. But what led you to becoming a sustainable fashion advocate?
Well, long story short, one of my students in my office at FITM, when I first started there, she would only come in wearing white clothing, white cotton clothing. And I asked her about it once, and she shared with me that it was because of the dyes and the different types of material that irritated her skin and would make her sick. And so that was an eye opener for me. And this was years ago when I started looking into sustainable fashion. But I'm really excited about the latest insights and what the fashion industry should know about the future of sustainable fashion. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about this. I really do believe that this presentation will offer some insight, and hopefully, and some of you that are listening will be inspired to make little changes. And that's all it really takes, is little changes. So I do believe that creative, innovative people has the world changing potential to influence conscious consumerism, because that's what this is really about, is to bring to light the fact that we have more than we need. And so now that this pandemic has kind of slowed things down, we've had the ability to rethink and relook and reflect on what's really important. So this presentation is called Sustainability, Fashion, and Wellness. And what you see here is a chart that I brought up. And keep in mind, no company can be 100% sustainable.
Hmm.
But in terms of what a sustainable fashion company is, it really looks at, most of them look at environmental, social, and economic factors.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what they look at most. I also added the consumer habits, because I think our consumers, and I like to call them customers, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
not so much consumers, but I think it's important that we listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And and that will keep us focused on what it is they're asking for, and we can provide that for them. So the biggest difference between sustainable fashion is its, conscious kindness, if you will, towards the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And also longevity, creating lasting garments, swapping out sustainable materials for more natural materials. And, it lessens the carbon footprint, if you will, that's left behind in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, beyond the choice of fabrics that you might choose, ethical fashion also employs a very discerning look at the process of sourcing materials, manufacturing, and putting value on people over products,
Mm-hmm. And
or
so,
profits, I should say.
so, and let's talk about the impact.
Okay.
How does practicing, sustainable, having a sustainable fashion brand, how does it impact us, the environment, the
Mhm.
economy? Let's start like you have here with the environment.
Okay, so as you can see from this slide, there's a lady in a fashionable outfit that is standing in or near a landfill. And what a lot of people don't realize is that one garbage truck of clothes are burned or landfilled every second, enough to fill 1.5 Empire State Buildings in a day. So that's how much waste is being thrown out. And most of it is their textiles. So it's affecting our water supply, it's affecting our health, it's affecting people's ability to be paid a fair wage because of the fact that these clothes are so disposable for the most part. So it affects our environment. It's cutting into the forests. It's, uprooting animals and people's lives. So there's a long-term effect. And just because excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem close to home doesn't mean that it's not affecting us all.
Now you mentioned their wage. You said it's impacting their wages, their earning
Right.
wages.
Well, when I say that, I'm referring to a fair fair labor wages. And a lot of the fast fashion clothes that you see in landfills, that, by the way, are not biodegradable, so they stay there for hundreds of years. The people that are making the clothes in countries outside of America, sometimes child labor,
Mm-hmm.
they're getting paid 50 cents a day. It's not a living wage. And so looking at how all of that affects people and their living conditions and ultimately the environment is something that I think we should all look at a little
Absolutely.
closer.
Absolutely. And
Now,
so,
I don't
go ahead. I'm
okay,
sorry.
so I don't know if any of you guys have seen recently the Levi's commercial. I think they showed it at the Super Bowl, and then I saw it after the Super Bowl as well, um, featuring Jaden Smith. And that generation of young people are concerned about the environment as well as social issues that are related to sustainability. So the slide that you're seeing here now, and I'll go back to what some of the comments were in that commercial because I think they're profound. But what you're looking at now is how the economy is looking at sustainability.
Okay.
And digital and sustainability, these are areas of big growth for the industry. So those designers that may be listening, or retailers that may be on board, supplying sustainable clothing and offering sustainable clothing to retailers, either online or in person, is really key, because one of the things that I'm hearing people say year after year is that they're having trouble finding and knowing what really is a sustainable brand. But there is growth, as you can see, and this is a recent report that's showing that digital and sustainability are opportunities, but they're also areas of challenge. And that challenge to me could be innovation, things that we need to come up with that's going to push this conversation forward.
Hmm. Okay. And when we talk about the consumer, oh my gosh, this is the part here. This is the part here. I'm like, oh.
Well, keep in mind, last year there was $150 billion spent on sustainable goods. So there is room for growth. We can jump in this market and find our niche. However, consumers, as I said earlier, sometimes are not aware of where to find it or what they're looking at when they go shopping.
Right.
So, what I wanted to talk about here a little bit was um, consumers may not realize, and for me it only makes sense for me to focus on sustainable fashion as a designer because I'm deeply concerned about my other passion and people and
Mhm.
helping people, and that's health and wellness. And
Mhm.
so, like I said to you earlier about that young student that I had in my office at FITM,
Mhm.
who learned early on that she could not wear clothes that had dyes in them. So the issue of polymers, let's talk a little bit about polyester fabric, which 65% of all clothing items that are found in the world are based on this chemical man-made product, which is a polymer, which is what polyester is made out of. And
Mhm.
so, since so many of our clothes, our fast fashion clothes, I should say, are made out of polyester, polyester is not a breathable fabric. It doesn't allow air to flow in or sweat to flow out. So, oftentimes, when you're wearing polyester fabric, the microfibers are absorbed into your skin. And it can have a negative effect on your health and wellness. It could cause rashes, allergies, nausea. It can cause headaches. I have a wellness coach, and she provided me with some medical reports on this subject because I asked her for them because I'm constantly researching and looking for information to share.
Mhm.
But some of those reports say it can even affect a woman's fertility. And they found some of these polyfibers in women's breasts. So it could have really, long-term negative effects on our health as well. And that's what I really want to get people to understand.
And that's wow. I know when we were talking before because I was saying how sometimes I may take a garment off and see the residue, but I wasn't thinking, I know like
Mhm,
a fuchsia blouse that I have, fuchsia colored blouse, I would
mhm,
take it off and see it stained. And I would even make sure, not to put it next to certain things in the closet. I might put a wrap
mhm,
over or something, but I wasn't thinking this can seep into my skin.
mhm. Absolutely
Is
can.
there a way is there a way to tell when you're looking, and I think you might have something in here about it, but I don't want to
Mhm.
go too far too fast. Is there a way to look at garments and tell, you know, how can I tell? Is there a way for me
Well,
to,
that's a good
I
question.
know
That's a
what I'm
good.
looking at. I know what I'm looking at something in I can look at FDA and see what they've done with medications, but
Right,
I know that
right.
they don't monitor, they don't necessarily take over for vitamins, but for
Mhm,
clothing,
mhm,
is there any type of regulation that's taking place, or are they talking about anything like that for us
mhm.
to be able, as the consumer, to tell?
Well, that's a very good question. One of the things that I always suggest that people do when they buy clothes, even before they purchase something, is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, is to read the label. But when I buy something and I try and use natural materials, and I try and buy things that are silk or cotton.
Hmm.
Um, Wool is a natural material, but it doesn't agree with my skin so much.
Mine either. Yeah.
Yeah, so you learn as you go, but I always wash a brand new garment, whether it's lingerie or outerwear, a blouse, or if I purchase it, I always wash it first, because the dyes in there, you want to try and get rid of some of the dyes. I know we want to look, our best, and we put our new clothes on because they look new and fresh. But I know how to. It's a matter of knowing how to care for what you have, and you can wash something and iron it or steam it, and it'll look as good as new, but it will release a lot of the finishes, the chemicals, the topical chemicals, and even dyes will come out in the water. So it's safe to wash a garment, but most importantly is you got to look at the label to see what the material is and what the manufacturer suggests in terms of the care of the garment.
Mm. What are some, well, talking here, how does it impact the designer?
Well, designers that are interested in practicing sustainable fashion, they think differently, obviously. The materials that they use, the way they create or make a garment, and how they even design that garment in terms um, of sourcing the materials for that garment. They may look for local suppliers. They may look for fabric from famous designers that have discarded the materials because they overpurchased. So they're designing with the intent of making something that the customers will purchase or acquire that is well made. They're making it so that the customer can actually look in the quality of the garment and know that it has, they may not realize it, but they can see that it's well made. It has craftsmanship in it that provides a higher quality than fast fashion, which is disposable on purpose. But you want your customer, as a sustainable designer, to be able to wear the garment for as long as they possibly can. And you have to inform them on how to and educate them on how to take care of it. For instance, washing something first and hang drying it so that it doesn't wrinkle as much if you're using, say, linen fabric. And then also, I'm working with a client right now, and I am restyling, if you will, or repurposing the gown for her so that if she decides she wants to remove the sleeves later, she can still wear that garment. So sustainable designers actually give the customer an opportunity to wear that as long as they possibly can and keep it in use. It's not a new it's nothing new in terms of the way our moms and our grandmothers may have, we call them hand-me-downs. My sister would get my clothes, and I would take care of them, and my mother insisted that I did so that my sister can also wear them. So this is something new that's actually being newly marketed to middle class and affluent white women, but we've always done it as a people. We've taken care of our clothes. We've passed them on to our, our siblings, if we cousins, whoever. So
I know about that.
This is something we've always done.
Exactly. Now, from the designer standpoint, is it more costly to them, or is it less costly for them trying to maintain a sustainable, sustainable production of garments?
That's a very good question. And that is a myth that I'm going to debunk tonight because I'm not sure if it's the next slide, but most certainly one of the questions that come up oftentimes is why is it that sustainable clothes cost more? If you're a sustainable designer, especially if you're independent, you generally are having your clothes manufactured locally. And in this country, there's labor laws, and we have to pay workers a fair wage. And so it's hard to compete, and we really don't want to compete with fast fashion designers because I realize that will never go away. Fast fashion is going to always be here. But the demand for sustainable clothing has grown and continues to grow. And so I think it's important that a designer understands what type of material she's going to be using and understand the cost involved. But in context to, against fast fashion, yes, sustainable clothes is going to cost you a little bit more.
Okay.
So let's look at the next slide. I have my notes here because I want you guys to be able to understand some of the information I'm going to share.
Yeah.
But what you're looking at now is some of the, a few of the myths that are associated with sustainable fashion. Okay. And one of them is in the world of cool, our swag, sustainable fashion and style just don't mix, but that is not true. As you can see from this image here, the actress is wearing a cotton blouse and a cotton dress, and it's super stylish. So that is something that I guess we have to debunk, because over the years, sustainable fashion has definitely taken some steps up. Another one is polyester is an unsustainable material. That is true. It does not biodegrade because it's made out of petroleum, which is oil, and it just doesn't go away. They will burn it and they will throw it in landfills, but it's around for a long time. And I think I mentioned earlier, consumers spent $150 billion on sustainable products last year, and it's not just clothing. This is across the board. So when you think about a sustainable lifestyle, it's little things that you can do to incorporate sustainability into your home, which makes for a safer, environment. Now, you mentioned the fact that sustainability, and a lot of people think sustainable fashion is more expensive than fast fashion. Have you heard that before?
Well, I don't know if I've heard it before, but in my mind, I'm thinking anything healthier generally costs more.
Okay.
So,
Well, a lot of people think that sustainable fashion is more expensive. But I want to take you to, I think it's the next slide, and kind of show you a breakdown. I want to bring to your attention the idea of cost of wear. Okay. And I want you to think of it in really simple terms. We generally take care of what we invest in. If we buy a $5 t-shirt, we don't care so much, if it gets a stain on it or if it falls apart, which it usually does after you wash it the first time. This chart is showing you, and I'm going to just say to you, let's say you buy a necklace and you spend $10 on that necklace. And after you wear it a couple of times, the clasp breaks and the necklace is ruined. Okay. The cost per wear for that $10 necklace is $5 because you wore it twice. Okay. But on the other hand, if you buy a necklace that costs $50 and that quality of necklace lasts you a lot longer, you wear it 60 times in a matter of 3 months, that necklace cost per wear is only 80 cents. So the principle behind cost per wear is that when you buy something of a higher quality, it's going to last you longer. You're going to wear it more, and it's not going to fall apart on you. So that's what you're seeing here. And a lot of times people go for the fast fashion because the price tag is less. But in the long run, you're not going to get your wear out of it or your money.
So it does cost more, but you get more for your money.
You get more for your money. That's the bottom line. It costs a little bit more up front, but in the long run, it's going to be worth it. You might even be able to pass that piece or that garment on to a family member that'll even get more wear out of it. So I think it's just a matter of changing the mindset about
investment.
It's an investment.
That's whenever I look at top quality clothing, I say it's an investment because you're gonna get, as you already explained, you're gonna get more of a turnaround, a return on your investment on it, because you can wear it longer, you can share it with someone, you can pass it down to whomever.
Exactly.
And quality, the levels of quality that we wear speak for themselves.
Right. And so what we invest in, we usually wear more and we care more for it.
Yeah.
And that's the principle behind this red jacket as well. It just happened to be a British advertisement. So, it may um, you may not understand what high street is, but it's the same principle. You buy a cheap jacket at H&M, and you buy a nice one that's very similar at another store that costs more. You're going to wear, and it's going to last. You're going to wear it more, and it's going to last longer. So that's the principle behind this cost per wear formula.
And my thing is, I'll tell my secret. In the summer, because I know the fashions are changing so
Hmm.
rapidly, I might buy a $5 t-shirt. But long term, if you want to have that quality, that top-notch quality going before someone, that $5 shirt is not going to do it. You want to invest in something because you can, and I think you've already alluded to this, you can switch it out,
Hmm.
layer it and make 5 or 10 different outfits out of it. So it's
Hmm.
worth it, and it's worth your health, as you're telling us.
Yes.
What's more important, to be cute or
Hmm.
cute and be healthy?
Well, we learned, in the wake of the pandemic, that we stopped shopping for clothes. We stopped shopping. We realized that we probably had more than enough in our closet already. And I think, for those of you that may be thinking about transitioning to a sustainable closet, I'm working on a ebook on how to do that. But it's the little things, the little steps that you make, and you gradually get rid of the clothes in your closet that you don't wear anymore, that are really not well made, and you start introducing sustainable pieces into your wardrobe, and until you have a capsule collection of pieces that you can wear and mix and match, and you can feel good about wearing them.
Hmm, got it. So, talk to us about the top 5 things that a consumer or customer should know, when shopping for garments.
Well, they're listed here: buying less, choose well, and make it last. That's a quote from Vivienne Westwood, who is a British designer. But that commercial that I was talking to you about earlier, that Levi's just recently released with Jaden Smith, the interesting thing about that was it says, if you make better clothes. It starts by saying, if you make better clothes, we'll buy better clothes. And if we buy better clothes, we'll buy less. And if we
Hmm.
buy less, we'll wear what we have more and take care of it. It's the same principle. And what I found interesting about that commercial, it supports the research that I've been doing, that the millennials and the Generation Z, I think it is, the younger ones, they're the ones that are saying this. That's why this commercial is marketed to that generation. They're
Hmm.
essentially saying, look, you adults have messed up, you're messed up the planet, you're not saving the planet. And it's something that we want to change, because they're really about sustainability as it relates to social issues and the
Hmm.
environment. Whereas the older generation, the baby boomers, they're concerned about sustainability as well, but more as it relates to their health and wellness and their financial, well-being. So both demographics care about sustainability. Their focus is slightly different.
I'm going to share one of the comments that came in. Carmen Duncan said, high quality equal healthier self. Never thought of it this way.
Yes, very
Yeah,
good. And
yeah.
then the second one that you see here is to read the label,
Mm,
because when you read the label, it'll tell you on any product that you pick up what it's made out of. And that was a hard one for me when I first started going sustainable, because there's blends of fabric. You might find 90% cotton and 5 or 10% polyester. Polyester is a resilient fabric. There's a lot of benefits to it, but I don't think that the benefits outweigh the risk. And so I look at every label, and I always, tell those that I'm working with to look at the label. That'll tell you a lot. You mentioned earlier, Carla, that the Food and Drug Administration, they have certification for organic food. So this is organic, even though the apples kind of look the same. One's organic, one's not. There are some certifying bodies in the fashion industry that are trying to figure out how to make this more standard, but there's so many loopholes. Marketing is a
mm.
big part of what you see. And sometimes they market products that are not what they claim to be. So, the third point is to, look at the brand's mission statement, go on their website, see what they believe in, because essentially when you're spending your dollars with a company, you're supporting and aligning yourself with them and whatever they believe in or whatever they're doing. So you definitely want to know what they believe in and what their mission statement is, and support smaller local sustainable fashion designers. And we talked about the cost per formula already.
Uh, um, and then Cynthia.
There I am in my studio.
Yes. So talk to us about the cost for a designer of implementing, which I think we already hit on, but
Mhm.
implementing a sustainable fashion design company. Talk about that.
Well, I look at sustainability as a value system of something that you believe in.
Mm,
And so it's a decision that you make as a designer to jump in this sustainability line. And if in so doing, I think there's things that you have to be sure of. You have to be sure of where you're getting your materials from, what the materials are. You have to understand that the quality, the expectation is that the quality is going to be superior. And so, those craftsmanship is key. I make all of the designs and I have an assistant. So we sit and we sew the designs. And my particular slow fashion, or as sometimes it's called, made to order or on demand, it's, where you open up your business. And in my case, it would be my e-shop for orders, and I do also take pre-orders. And then I close the shop to fill those orders. And so I'm taking my time. It's not going to arrive to you overnight. It's going to take 10 days to up to 2 weeks. But you're going to be getting something that is made by hand, not mass produced. And it just makes a difference for those customers who are interested in supporting sustainable designers and wanting to transition to a sustainable wardrobe.
okay. I see some questions coming in, so I know that there's a delay. Um,
Okay.
but I'll share those questions, but anyone else who has questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in, and then I'll scroll back through and try to answer as many of them, or let Cynthia answer as many of them as we can. She's the expert on this. So,
Well, I'm constantly learning and researching, and new information is coming out daily. But this is, how does one begin implementing sustainable practices into their business? And this is speaking, I assume, to maybe new designers that are in school or designers that are interested in kind of shifting what they do. I
mhm.
think, again, you can control a lot of the elements when you are building your business, but implementing um, product sustainability. So who the suppliers are, who the vendors are, and kind of what you want to align yourself with a team of people that kind of think like you do. So you can trust them, because ultimately your customer is wanting to trust you, and that you are providing them with what you say you're providing them with. So I think the design practice for me, I like designing, like I have the one dress that is in my collection. And you can wear it 3 different ways. One of my customers shared with me that she can wear it 7 different ways. So I think it's designing a product that you want your customer to be able to wear over and over and over again. And it's in constant rotation because there's that versatility. And I think, business innovation, as you see here, there's a lot going on with the textiles. Obviously, textile designers are a big part of the industry,
Mhm.
and they're creating new materials out of pineapple, out of cactus, out of spider silk. There's all kinds of new innovations that are coming down the pipeline. And I just think that any new designer should be aware of some of these, and engaging your customer, asking your customer what they want to see. be. And I think as a small brand, it's easier to engage your customer one-on-one and ask them what they want to see, what they want to wear, what they want to purchase. Ultimately, you can control some of those factors.
Mm-hmm. And are there any legal parameters that the designers need to be concerned about making that transition?
Well, there are some legal parameters, especially with the increased focus on sustainability and environmental stewardship. There's a lot of changing legal and regulatory things happening on the landscape, affecting the fashion and textile industries because they do go and work hand in hand. I just read an article a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, that Vogue put out about a senator in New York City, as a matter of fact, that is legislating a bill about just this, about sustainability. So I think the next slide is, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this talks about cause.
Okay.
And the,
So,
yeah.
so I think any company just has to, you know, have initiatives that support sustainability, and there are, like I said, certifying bodies that are available to designers. They do cost to be a member of, but you can learn a lot on your own. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and pay to join an organization to understand how to be sustainable. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to be aware of what's going on. But at a minimum, I think it's crucial, it's really critical to know the materials you're using in the products that you're selling and understand the details of the people that are involved in the supply chain. So know your vendors, and you can learn about the applicable, environmental rules and regulations that are coming down the pipelines that are changing all the time.
Do you ever think we might see like only like a fabric provider that's only providing sustainable fabric? Do you think that might be something that comes about in the future?
There are. I actually work with some now.
Okay.
I get all my linen from one of two suppliers, and I know them well. We sit and have coffee and talk about the materials, the weight of the materials. There's companies that only sell silk materials, and as well as cotton. So they're out there. The I think the challenge for sustainable fashion is that you're always competing in the customer's eye against fast fashion,
Mm.
because that's more readily available because it's mass produced. So they're making thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of units of the same blouse and sending it out. So you're competing in a sense, but in another sense, you're not, because the customer that you are targeting is someone that is looking and searching for sustainable clothing.
Got it. And so certifying the bodies. Yeah, talking
Yeah.
about this. Oh,
Well, these are just a few of the organizations that provide certification for fashion industries.
mhm.
Companies, GOTH, the Global Organic Textile Standard one, that's probably one of the most popular and famous ones. But also, of course, PETA. They are on and always will be on the front in terms of, you know,
Yeah,
cruelty to animals.
yeah.
So that is another one. Certified B is another corporation that is a certifying body, and they're unique in their ability, they claim, to measure a company's entire social and environmental impact, as you can see. So these are just a few of them. And each one of these, they will charge to look at your company and the materials that you use. And there's a cost involved in that
Mhm.
to get their stamp of approval.
So when we're thinking about sustainable fashion, this is, we hear all of these different terms.
Mhm.
Clarify these terms to us and what they mean.
Okay, I have notes on some of these. Some of these are, you know, like thrifting, for instance, that obviously means you've worn something, you're tired of it, you're giving it away to Goodwill. Swapping, you've heard, I don't know if you've heard of swap parties, but
I have not.
I've attended a swap party. It's when a group of friends get together and one home, and they all bring clothes that are in good condition, gently worn, as they say, that they don't wear anymore. They don't like it anymore. They don't want it. And they lay all the accessories and the shoes out, and they just swap. They like, oh, I'll take that dress, and you can, and you take that blouse. And so swap parties are really, kind of fun, you know, um, given that, you have to set parameters on what it is that they should be bringing. You don't want them bringing fast fashion $5 t-shirts. Um, but renting is huge right now. Rent the Runway, Poshmark. There's so many companies that are making.
I use Poshmark, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there, and they, you can rent your garments out, whether it's a gown for a gala event or just a business suit, you can, or has accessories, you can rent them, wear them for a day or two, and then you send them back. So you're not, so that garment, there you go, there's the longevity involved in the garment.
And I think that New York and Company started offering a service similar to what Rent the Runway was doing, which, I mean, the pandemic kind of threw them all out of the loop, but I think they did start something like that.
Yes, a lot of companies are. Levi's obviously has a program. Tommy Hilfiger had one. Patagonia is really famous for their program where you can send your ripped or torn product back to them, and they'll repair it for you. So there are companies that are actually doing that, and it's all based around sustainability. We talked a little bit about ethical fashion. That term really came about 2013 when that Rana Plaza in Bangladesh collapsed, and all those people were killed because of the poor working conditions. Let's see, which other one? Circular fashion. Circular fashion refers to clothes that are designed, produced, and sold to design out of waste. So what does that mean? That's a legal term, but it really means what I talked about earlier. It's keeping a garment in use for as long as you possibly can before it's discarded. So, and that could mean, you restyle it. If it's a dress, you might cut it in half and make the bottom skirt, and you wear that for a longer period of time. Slow fashion is what I am. It's something that's made by hand. It takes time, and it's not mass produced. So there's a limited amount of products available. And let's see what else is up there. Recycling, upcycling, those are terms that upcycling is, again, these are not new concepts, but the difference between recycling, which is an action of converting waste into something usable. For example, some products, some brands turn plastic bottles, Patagonia, into to clothing. So even though it's polyester, ultimately they're at least reusing plastic bottles. And so that is recycling. And, recycling, they tell us to recycle. They give us bins. I don't know about New York. My son was in New York. He said they just throw the trash out of the window. I'm like, he's like, Mom, it's piled up on the sidewalk. But they do.
I don't live in that neighborhood, but okay. but since you're talking about it, let me tell you, where I live, I'm right on Broadway. If anybody's in New York and knows Broadway, and I'm uptown.
Okay.
Someone literally, I don't know the story, but they actually put a recycling bin outside of our building on the corner, and all of the tenants within the building complained profusely. I mean, it was within a week it was gone. So that just came to my mind while you're talking about it.
Wow.
The
Well, in
bin
California,
Yeah, the
I'm
band
sorry.
really wasn't that attractive, so
Okay.
they had to remove it. I just had to insert that in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in California, they give us three trash bins, one black, one green, one blue, and they encourage, recycling.
This
So,
was a big box, like the
oh,
Goodwill boxes. It
oh,
almost
okay.
looked like a really big dumpster. It just was not
Not
that
good. Not
attractive, but
okay. So I guess there's probably recycling centers that you could take your plastic bottles and such too. But
yeah.
that's what recycling is all about. And conscious fashion is it's similar to slow fashion, and that you really are intentional about what you buy. And I think ultimately, I think that's what we want and what we're seeing. I say customers, they're thinking about what they want to buy because they've realized, in wake of the pandemic, that they really don't need to shop as much as maybe they did before. So now, as things are opening up,
Yeah.
we're thinking about what we want to purchase and not just buying it emotionally.
You're so right because um, lingerie, lounge clothing,
Hmm.
underwear, those things they became in demand because everybody was working from home.
That's true. That's true.
So
And that it was a spike in that category of the fashion
mhm,
industry.
mhm.
But I just want people to realize, though, that most of the clothes that you exercise in, you know, um, your leggings, they're made out of spandex, nylon, or polyester. So you're encouraging, sweat because you're working on being healthy, but it's almost counteractive because they don't want you to really know this information. Um, if you can find 100% cotton, anything.
What about bamboo?
Bamboo is a good material. It's a good material.
I
So
have a pair of bamboo leggings I got from Canada. So
there
yay!
you go. Canada's ahead of us in this regard, by
Mm,
the way. So it's just a matter of reading the label.
okay.
It all
That
comes
doesn't
down to that.
okay. And we'll come to this and well, I'll actually remove this and we'll have final thoughts. This
Okay.
is good. This is very informative. There's a couple of questions I'm going to share with you. So, Dale asks, should we be concerned about clothes that need to be put in the cleaners?
Oh, that's a good question. Generally, when it's a garment that has to be cleaned, it's an outer garment like a coat. Although I have a couple of coats that I wash and hang dry, but there are chemicals and solvents that they use in the cleaning process. And like I said, you can't be 100% sustainable, but you have to choose wisely. And some garments, they tell you that they have to be dry clean. The label says dry clean.
Mhm.
However, the results from hand washing is the same. So you can save yourself money, not have the chemicals, and do it yourself. You can launder silk. Really, it's more of the construction of a garment and what the inner facings are that will require it to be dry clean or not.
Cassandra says, I have been using only fabric that I have, making an effort not to purchase any fabric to create my products, and wondered if this practice is considered sustainable.
Yes and no. Again, it depends on the fabric itself. And oftentimes, unless you have some understanding of textiles, you don't know if you just have a bunch of fabric. But one thing is good is that you are not, you're making it yourself. So you're not being over consuming. You're not a consumer in that sense. So you are, because do it yourself is huge and it has been huge for a few years now. So
Yeah.
if you are able to make something yourself, kudos to you because you can control the material that you use. And what's better than making something made to your measurements? So that's a good thing.
She's a designer, so
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the question is, um, how long have schools been teaching? I'm paraphrasing. How long
Mhm.
have schools been teaching sustainable fashion?
Um, it's been discussed, and there are special groups and classes in the subject, but I think that more needs to be done in order for designers coming out of schools to want to do sustainable fashion. And like the commercial that I mentioned earlier, they said, if you make it, now these are, say, 15-year-olds saying, if you make it, we'll buy it. So designers can produce sustainable clothing. Again, even if they're not teaching it at the school that you may be attending or you are learning on your own, you have that choice. You can make that decision. But schools have started to teach sustainable fashion. It's not a broad subject, but there are groups and special, you know, um, students that want more of it. So yes, they're demanding it. So the schools are starting to provide, and they need to provide more, I think.
Mhm.
As well as I mentioned, is virtual fashion sustainable? That is something that is new on the horizon. And I know that there are software programs like Close 3D that is now being taught at a college that I won't mention. But again, these are things that are in demand. And so as the industry changes, the educational institutions do adapt. Sometimes it's slow, but eventually it does happen.
Mhm. This is good. If there's any additional questions, like I know there's a delay, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat now. Yeah, I there's a lot to think about. Definitely a lot to think about. Someone said they didn't know bamboo fabric existed. Yes, and
Yes.
look, it feels so good. I have I got turned on to bamboo fabric. I think I might have been listening to Steve Harvey. I actually have bamboo sheets.
Yay.
That is the most comfortable thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when I took a road trip, I needed to get away with the pandemic. So when I took a road trip to Canada last summer,
Hmm.
I found a little shop they had an outdoor market and they had a shop that had bamboo leggings. They are the most comfortable things. So now I'm gonna have to like contact that shop and get some more because you got me thinking. So
Yes. Or you can look in the label. Maybe you can see the brand name in the label, and you can buy them online, which would be great. But bamboo is a good fabric for t-shirts,
they have bamboo
for
too. Oh my
oh
gosh.
yeah, they have bamboo lingerie, so you can find it. And but that goes to show you that a lot of people are just not aware of it. If once they are informed and they're aware of it, they're inspired to make those little changes, and that's what I think
Oh, well,
it's all
I am.
about.
Look, if there's anybody listening tonight who wants to make me an influencer for bamboo, I'm all about it because bamboo has changed my life. I
Mhm.
mean, you hear about the thread count, which you can talk about this
Mhm.
more than I can about the Egyptian cotton, and I thought that was it. Oh, let me get the highest level of count with the Egyptian cotton. No, the bamboo. Like I said, if somebody wants to make me an influencer for bamboo, I'm all in because it is the most soothing feeling. I mean, just to get in those bamboo sheets every night after a nice hot shower and I've lotioned down with my Lubriderm lotion or either my white tea satin. Oh, that's a whole nother story. But you just took me somewhere. But yeah, bamboo is the best. And
Yeah.
now that I know that you've educated me on the fact that it is a healthy
It
option, I'm
is a
gonna go
natural
more.
material. It is one of the
Awesome.
natural materials. And there are more natural materials, like I said earlier, that are being created. And that's the innovation behind and the drive behind experimenting with different fibers that are natural. And that's what those textile designers are doing so that we, as fashion designers, can work together to really saturate the sustainability market. So, yeah, when you think well fashion, know, honor, and treasure your fashion makers. That's what I want to say. They're there. Just look for them, seek them out.
I have to share this comment with you, Dale. So Cynthia Harvey-Brown, you are a bad girl. Yes, thank you, my sister. And
You're
then I'm not
welcome.
sure who this is, but thank you. I receive it. I'm gonna be a brand ambassador for bamboo somehow.
Look what you started, something good.
I'm telling you, now that I know that they even have bamboo lingerie,
Absolutely.
forget Vicky's. Vicky's, you might better get bamboo. I'm telling you, it, especially during the pandemic, because that's when I got them.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care doesn't beat it. But with that said, thank you, Dale, for that. I want to, find out if there's any last minutes. I do want to throw out there because I think it's appropriate timing because we're talking about the recycling and everything. And there's this quote, I know I'm paraphrasing, about another man's junk is another man's treasure. And something I was sharing with my board in the spring, I want to do is a great closet clean out. And so I think this is the appropriate time talking about recycling. You all look out for that. You will have the opportunity to share on. So my cousin, I had to thank my cousin for the opportunity. The tricking. She was cleaning out her closet and selling the items online, and I said, "Oh, you just made me think of something." So we're gonna do that, or I'm gonna do that. And you can sell your items, or you can send them to us, and we will sell them. If you sell them yourself, then I just ask that you give the nonprofit 8% so we can recycle the money back into the Black community and help put that into our programs. If you send them to us, then we'll sell them for you. But so look out for that. With all of that said, Cynthia, thank you so much for this insightful conversation. What food for thought, final words do you want to share with others thinking, whether it's a designer or a consumer thinking, or maybe both, thinking about that transition, transitioning to being a sustainable fashion consumer, transitioning to being that sustainable fashion producing designer? What are your thoughts and final
Well,
words?
first of all, Carla, I just want to thank you for this platform and the opportunity to be able to share the information, because otherwise, how will they know unless we're able to talk about it? And so I think the important thing is that it's not hard to find sustainable products. Not just fashion, but also you want to consider where your baby is laying his head or her head. You want to consider the products used to clean your clothes. You want to consider the textile. Like Carla said, you're sleeping on this. You're spending a third of your time laying on something that you want to know is keeping you well, and your home is a safe environment. So converting or transitioning to a more sustainable life, just remember it's little steps, and all these little steps add up, and you will see ultimately that you'll be healthier, you'll be happier, and you'll be doing good for yourself and the environment.
Awesome. What a wonderful way to wrap up. I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. Again, let me share how you can contact Cynthia if you want more information. You can follow her at Shift in Season. She is in California. I didn't mention that she's joining us from California tonight. So kind of envious because the sun over there is probably just starting to go down.
Not yet.
Oh, but this has been wonderful. So thank you, Cynthia, for the information. And I want to tell everybody, feel free to share the replays with others. Follow us at BFW Foundation, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so